Each day, more and more people are listening to music on Spotify, and that's also true for podcasts. Next time you're on the Spotify app, make sure to follow Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Enjoy listening to Lou, his incredible guests, and all of the amazing episodes. Listen, follow, and share. Thrive Loud on Spotify.
In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one. To Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
I don't need to teach you to be more like me. I need to teach you to be more like you.
Longtime listener and a huge fan.
Lou, I am tremendous.
And the more I unplug from technology and people, the more I can serve people with technology.
What you're standing for with connection, I think it's the key to everything.
You're just an amazing breath of fresh air for sure.
Lou, you're a diamond in the rough, my man.
Because for me, if I'm not living high energy, I'm surviving and I want to be thriving.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a man who, after life as a consulting actuary to Fortune 100 companies, built the world's largest coaching business, becoming the #1 on Google for life coaching. That's unbelievable, by the way.
Thank you.
Discovering that shiny object syndrome is an epidemic among high performers. He coaches rock star business owners to double revenue, achieve more in less time, and be a more extraordinary entrepreneur, partner, parent, and leader. Thrive Loud listeners, the laser focus coach, David Wood. David, how are you today?
I'm good, man. Thank you. And thanks for acknowledging that thing about Google. It wasn't easy to get to #1 out of 23 million results. And most people just skip over it. I'm like, come on, that was something. So it's nice to have that called out.
I'd say that's more than something, David. That's actually like off the charts ridiculous because like you said, and specifically in that particular area, we'll talk about that a little bit. But what I want to dive into right out of the gate is something you mentioned here right out of the that I talked about in the opening. What made you move from being an actuary? By the way, for those who do not know what actuaries do and how intelligent you need to be to do this and how unique of a career that is, I think it's important. Maybe give a little background of that from the beginning and how you moved from that into this line of work, because that is probably one of the biggest jumps in the types of work that you would do and the people you would deal with. Tell me, David, how did that start out? First of all, you were always very good at math as a young kid?
Yeah, I was pretty good at math until about maybe like 15. And then something happened. I honestly don't know what happened, but I started coming first in a number of my classes. And so I went from a pretty good student to topping the school. And I honestly can't tell you what happened, but I was just really good at math. And an actuary, for those who don't know, the joke is an actuary is someone who didn't have the personality to become an accountant.
which is I've heard that joke before, David, and that's why I'm laughing, because to go from that lack of a personality, and accountants don't necessarily have that good of a personality, for those who haven't figured out this little sarcastic joke, to go from that into this line of work, what switch went off? What changed for you in that process?
Well, just to let people know what an actuary is, they deal with statistics and probability and financial flows going 100 years into the future. And it's weird, esoteric study, but they also have to have good English skills. So it's not just the math, but good at presentation and communication so they can communicate complex things to a board. So my early life was studying systems and numbers, and I'm a geek, right? So that was good for me. And I became a consulting actuary because I also wanted the people aspect. Yeah. But then something happened. I was 27. I'm in New York, transferred from Australia. I'm going to some big companies and I figure I've got it made. I'm going to Sony Music, Chanel, Procter and Gamble. They're flying me first class to Switzerland to some conference. I'm like, this is awesome. And I've got an office. So I thought that was everything. And then someone recommended a personal growth course. They said, because I wasn't very happy and I was a bit stressed and my marriage wasn't going well. And they said, why don't you go and do this personal growth course? And I said, I don't want to become one of those self-help junkies that's just weak-willed and is a sheep and can't think for themselves. And they said, just go check it out. So I went and checked it out, and I nearly didn't sign up because they all wore name tags and they smiled way too much. And I'm like, this cannot be real. I don't trust it. But I said, I'm going to get in and get out. And so I got in, I did the first course, and they said to me, when you go back to work on Monday, people will see something different about you and they won't know what it is. And they're going to ask you if you've had a haircut. And I swear to God, that's what happened. When I went back, I'm like, wow, all right, something's happening here. And so I decided I'll do the second course, but I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to be a self-help junkie. And I did the second course, and they cracked my cynicism. I found myself weeping because I heard one of the teachers whisper to another one, it just makes you cry, doesn't it?
Wow.
And I realized these people have devoted their life to having the world be a better place. And I honestly didn't think that was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could do that. I didn't think anyone did. Everyone's just trying to make a buck. So that started me on a whole new path. And I found myself in the second program coaching people. I couldn't help myself. They'd be stuck on something. I'd be like, well, did you try this? The teacher said yesterday. And I found myself changing someone's life overnight. Didn't mean to, but when I saw her screw up the courage to go and confess to her partner that she'd had an affair 10 years earlier, and she'd been manipulating him for 10 years and never came clean about that and was risking everything for love, I was so inspired. I'm like, I want more of that. And is there a way I can help guide people into their fears and out the other side so they can have more of the business and life that they want? And the company agreed to coach me and train me in coaching. I'm like, I'm in. I want that. And so I ended up quitting my job. And you said that was a big jump from being an actuary to being a coach. Well, no, the bigger jump was when I jumped from being an actuary to being a professional entertainer and playing guitar for pubs and parties and on our national gong show. That was a bigger jump.
Okay.
Then I jumped from that to being a coach. And here we are now.
That actually makes some sense. We used to do this workshop with a lot of our clients to get them out of their comfort zone. And one of the things we would do when we were allowed to go out into certain places, and there weren't so many rules about this, but we actually used to take people into a bar or a club, and they would have to go do open mic after having no idea that they would end up having to do it. And we would tell them to prepare a story, and they'd have to tell a story to do this. So that sounds like you got that stretching out far to your comfort zone from the actuary piece into that line of work, and then flipped it back into this line of work. Let's talk about this work that you're doing. Who specifically are you helping in your line of work? Do you have a certain niche or area that you focus on most specifically? What type of client do you work with most?
Yeah, I focus now with business owners who are already earning over $200,000 a year, or they will be very soon, and they want to double revenue. Almost everyone wants to double revenue, right? So we start there, but they also want to leverage so they can double their time off.
Yeah.
And that's where I get more interested, because I'm like, okay, the money, fine, let's start on that. But I want you to have the life you want. So the second thing we work on is time off. And then thirdly, and this is my true calling, how are you showing up in the world? How are you showing up for yourself, for your nutrition, your health? How are you showing up in your relationships? I want you to love your life. And to be honest, I want you to love yourself. Because for me, it's a lifelong journey loving myself, and I want other people to do it. Money pays the bill, so we'll start there and then we move on.
Well, that's actually perfect, because in the work that you've done in the past as an actuary, you're analyzing a situation and what the statistics, what the odds, what the calculations are. And that might be the first start of like, hey, what's the right way for you to be thinking about your money? And then what's a way that you can be doing this better? Well, obviously there's other component to it, which you've got the yin and yang of here, which is helping people better understand themselves. You talked about working with these top leaders and helping them move through that. And you have this great term about focus, this laser focus. Maybe drill down a little bit, pun intended, about how you can get people to do that. Because that's some of the biggest problems. To your point, there are a lot of bright, shiny objects that distract people from what they need to do. David, how do you get them focused?
We start, well, first I want to talk about the problem a little bit. For humans in general, life is so beautifully complex and getting more and more so. Like I see things in terms of systems. Just the system we have for access to music. You might have a Pandora account and a Spotify account, and then there's Apple Music and then Amazon Music, and you've got your apps, and then you've got your Echo that plays it. And which speaker did I connect to? Oh, it's over in the garage. That's one example of a system just came to my head for music. Then there's your insurance system and your transportation system and your health system and your relationship system. This is before we get to your job or career system. Or if you're an entrepreneur, if you're on your own business, oh my God, now you've got 20 other hats and you've got your business systems. So I just noticed I took a deep breath because I was getting a little worked up just even thinking about it. And we got so many options and strategies and things we want to work on. And I'm guilty of going for adrenaline and dopamine. So I got computer games that give me a fix, and I've got relationships and conversations and the phone, and we go more and more in that direction. And I think the problem is that while that can be entertaining and dopamine's great and adrenaline's great, at the end of the day, we may not be achieving what we know we could be achieving. Yeah. So it's not actually very efficient. So first place we start is very simple. And a lot of what I'm going to say is not going to be rocket science or new information, but there are two categories of brilliance. One category is the new information that you've never heard before that blows your mind. The other category is the shit you've known for 20 years but never actually implemented. Right. And I want to say that up front so that you don't discard something just because you already have the information. So we start with, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And now's a great time. We're talking in December. This will come out in January. So it's a great time to look at, what do I want my life and business and job to look like? Now, we start with, say, 12 months out. That's just a nice period of time, a year from now. And I think a great question to ask around New Year's resolutions is, how do I want to feel? 12 months, you don't start with what you want in your life. How do I want to feel? And then work backwards. What do I need to be doing to be feeling like that? And then what will I accomplish to reach that? So that's a beginning. But then the next question that comes up for a lot of my clients is, how do I maintain the thread between today and those 12-month goals? Most people put them on the fridge, don't look at them again. So to maintain the thread, the answer is quite simple. We just need some layers. We need to layer our goals. So we'll have a 12-month version. And then once we've got that and we like how that feels, and it's like, oh yeah, that'd really have me do the happy dance. Let's come back to 8 weeks. Yeah. And just write the 8-week version. All right, to be on track for all this other stuff, I will be thrilled to have achieved this 8 weeks from now. But let's not stop there, because we still have to maintain a thread between now and then. So what's your 7-day version? Yeah. So over the next week, what are you going to choose to care about, and what are you going to choose to not care about, just for 7 days? And that second bit is sometimes even more important. I'll have all this other stuff, but I'm not going to care about it for 7 days. And then we layer it one more time. What will I do tomorrow? If I only did 2 things, and listeners, if this is all you take away from this interview, it's such a great question. If I only did 2 things tomorrow, what would they be? And then if you want bonus points, do those 2 things first, and then let the busyness of life carry you away for the rest of the afternoon. And then one other piece I want to add. So we've got goals, and then we layer the goals, but you can't just do that one time, because what's going to happen next week? So we just need a simple system. And what I recommend is you put in your calendar a weekly date with yourself for 20 minutes. That's all I'm saying, 20 minutes. To look back on the last week and say, did I do the stuff I said? And pat myself on the back for what I did do. And then look ahead at your 8-week goals. Let's have a look at them, because you've written them down. You got them in front of you. Take a look and say, what will I bite off for the next 7 days? And if you do those 3 things, create your goals, layer them, and have a weekly date with yourself, I'm telling you, it's an absolute game changer. You're going to get twice as much done of what matters to you. Yeah. Not twice as much of the other stuff, but twice as much done of what matters.
I want to ask you, David, the question that just came to mind as I think about top performers who run into this problem. And even if they follow this methodology, life, curveballs, changes, things can get in your way. I want to know from you and the experience you've had with your clients as to what's the biggest challenge you see the leaders you work with on staying on track to follow that focused goal list, as you would, and the goal with the layers and that immediate proximity and satisfaction. What's the biggest hurdle that they run into or challenge that they bump into?
I love that. Okay, so we've started with the basics of how do we know where we're going, even down to the daily, to the micro. I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. But how do you do that? How do you stay on track? And you're right. A lot of them fall off the rails. One way that they fall off the rails, so maybe I'll throw out some mistakes.
Yeah.
They haven't gone and mapped their 7-day goals onto their calendar. That's a pro tip. All right, this is what I've got for the week. I'm looking up. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 things. They're post-it notes for the next 7 days. I did my weekly CEO date today about an hour and a half ago, right? Friday morning, it's done. If I don't do it, by the way, if I don't have that plan done by 25 minutes from now, I have to pay $5 to someone I dislike.
That's actually a good way to do it. A punitive method to capture it. Okay.
Yeah, it just gets my attention. I have to pay $5, and so I'm just on. It gets my subconscious's attention, and I'm like, I wrote it on my hand too. I got to get it done. My alarm went off 2 hours ago to say, hey, have you done your weekly action plan? So one mistake is not showing up for those weekly dates with yourself.
Yeah.
Another mistake is not mapping what you've said you'll do over 7 days in your calendar and blocking off time. And here's another mistake, not blocking off sprints in your calendar.
What do you mean by that? Okay, tell me about sprints.
Sprint, I mean, because like if I say I wake up today and I don't exercise my executive function of my brain, I don't talk to my CEO, I might just get into client calls and emails and whatever, then the whole day's gone. I didn't get to do the stuff that I said mattered. So block off, for me, 2-hour blocks in the calendar where you can sit down and work on the 2 things that you chose the day before, or pick off things from your 7-day goals and say, right, I'm going to, for 2 hours, do only this.
Yeah.
That's a beginning. A lot of people don't do that. If you do that, you're ahead of the game. Secondly, turn off the damn distractions.
Yeah.
Turn your phone onto, I just did it 3 minutes ago because I hadn't done it for this interview. Turn your phone onto airplane mode. There's a setting on your computer where you can turn notifications off so it doesn't ding you when you get an email. You don't want to know when there's a text message. You don't want to know there's an email. This is your time to work on your sprint. I got 2 hours. This is my goal. And what I do is 2 hours is a bit long for me. So I set 25-minute sprints.
Got it.
And I'll say, hey, set timer 25 minutes. Boom. Off I go. Then when it goes off at 25 minutes, I don't want to stop. I'm in the middle of something. But it's kind of like reverse psychology. Force yourself to get up, grab a cup of tea, go to the bathroom, do some push-ups, come back, do another 25-minute sprint. I cannot wait to get back because I was right in the middle of something. I want to get back and complete it. that's how I get through 2 hours of sprints, and it's quite easy. I can talk myself into 25 minutes of anything.
Love it. David, this is a question I ask all the guests on the show, and I especially enjoy asking coaches this particular question because it's a little bit of practices that you preach type of topic. And that is, like yourself, you are thriving in your business, you've in your career, in helping your customers. Right before we got on the call, you were just so excited about helping the clients that you're already helping, which is always so fun, which means that you're thriving on most occasions. But yet, as you know, we have days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders. David, when you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
I'll share from yesterday. I woke up yesterday and I felt a sense of dread. And I was like, all right, let's go through this and look at what's going on and what am I worried about. And I was like, okay, the training might not go well. All right. Can I handle that? Or if it doesn't go well, am I going to be okay? Yeah, I will. Maybe no one's going to show up for the training. All right. If that happens, what am I going to do? Hey, I'm going to record it anyway. So I don't actually need anybody. And after the Q&A, I'll come up with some questions. So I'm like, all right, I can handle that. I might feel tired and I might not enjoy what I'm doing. All right. Is there anything I need to do about that? No. Hey, if I'm tired, I'll take a nap. I'll rest. I might even cancel a call or two. No big deal. So I walked myself through everything that my brain was throwing up almost subconsciously as a problem, and found like, hey, I think I'm going to be good with this. And then a very interesting thing happened. I enjoyed the day. I had a great time, super productive. And at night, I felt really tired. And the night before when that happened, it felt like a problem. And this time, for some reason, I was like, I don't care. I'm just tired. That's all. Everything's right with the world. Now, for people listening to this, if they're like, yeah, but can you break it down more? Like, how did you actually? I've done a lot of practice with something called The Work by Byron Katie. And I'm a big fan of Katie's, and I've spent a month with her, and she's got a simple practice. And I just said this on a client call today. She says the worst thing that can happen to you is a thought. And I absolutely believe that now. It's not breaking your leg that causes your suffering. It's what you're believing about it. When I broke my back in Colombia in a paragliding accident, I had a really good day. It's not what happens to you. It's the thinking. So when I get upset, I try and think, what am I believing here that's got me upset? And then I fall back on the Byron Katie work, which is 4 questions and a turnaround. It's free. You can Google it. Go to thework.com. You can see her videos, and she'll teach you for free how to do it. What I did yesterday morning was a quick version of it in my head. Nice. What am I worried about? And how is it going to be okay if even all those bad things come to happen?
David, let's do this. Let's do the admin part of the show before we get to the fun street part of Thrive Loud. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URL. For those that actually have any video access to this, we could see one of the URLs on his hat. But provide us all those links. We'll put it all in the show notes. However, it always gets more engagement.
Yeah, there's one link. It'll take you straight to my website, and I've lined up a little gift basket for your listeners. So you can get there's a cheat sheet on the fastest way to double revenue if you happen to have your own business. It's also amazing for productivity. If you're like, I just want to get twice as much done in half the time. There's a video that takes 6-minute video, takes you through the steps. And if you do have a business and you're serious about doubling revenue, I will do a free 15-minute double your revenue audit with you. We'll find, because the plan for you is not going to be the same as someone else's business, and we'll find the low-hanging fruit. And you can get all 3 of those goodies at myfocusgift.com.
Excellent. We will put that in the notes here. David, permission to go down Fun Street with you.
How could I ever say no to that?
David, share with the listeners your all-time favorite movie.
50 First Dates.
Okay. I saw this in our show notes. How did an Adam Sandler movie hit this? Why does this movie connect so much with you?
Well, you're going to find out something about me now. I am a huge romantic. it turns out. And 50 First Dates, I'm going to try to do it without the spoilers, is one of the greatest love stories I've ever seen. You'd think Adam Sandler and a kind of like, really? But someone said to me, no, seriously, go watch it. And when I watched it, because one of the characters in the story has amnesia, what most people would do would be walk away from them. Like, I can't have a relationship with you. But instead, he shows up over and over and over again. And it seems to me to be the purest form of love, because you're not going to get any return from it. And so Notebook is another movie which is similar. It's just, it moves me so deeply to see someone show up in pure love, knowing they're not going to get anything back because the person's going to forget them the very next day.
Great message and a great summary there. All right, so we're going to go through.
You know, it's so appropriate you ask it now, because a client this morning said that he's about to get in to see his granddad who's dying, and his granddad's really confused and may not recognize him. Uh-huh. And I said, well, if that happens, what a beautiful opportunity for you to show up human to human, stranger to stranger, fresh, and just be there in love.
It's great.
And so it's not just a movie, it's an application to life.
Great way of sharing it. All right, so this is the speed round of Fun Street. You're going to like this. What I want you to do as quickly as you can, as it comes to your brain, provide the answers to the questions I ask you that bring you joy, lift you up, make you feel good, basically are things that make you thrive. Okay, you ready? Okay. A song that picks you up, pumps you up, or you love to listen to.
Laid by James Laid.
Favorite food that's not a dessert.
Green smoothie.
Favorite dessert.
Ben & Jerry's hazelnut fudge ice cream.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Playing with my dog.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Playing StarCraft 2 on the computer.
If you could snap your fingers and go anywhere in the world, David, where are you?
Bali. A
lot of people love Bali. That's one of the more common answers.
I spent 3 years living there and learning 3 different dialects. I'm a big Bali fan.
There you go. David Wood, the laser focus coach. All the links will be provided here in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your thoughts, the gift to your world. And thank goodness you got that coaching course to get yourself out of being the actuary that you are, actuarial consultant, and help now consult the world in the next ways that they can grow.
Mate, it's great to meet you, Lou. Really glad to be on the show. Thank you.
Pleasure having you. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.